Hello, good afternoon, good evening for all my students. Welcome back to our creative writing class. Today we will discuss very special discussion which is writing for children. So this discussion is very interesting because I have never talked about this before, and I'm sure that you're gonna interested to talk and to elaborate more about writing for children because writing for children there are not so many children books, particularly or especially in Indonesia, because we are having shortage for children books here in Indonesia. But why do I really interested in making this video? Because I do really believe that you need to know uh, the elements of writing for children, right? So, writing for children, in this video, I will focus on making particular things for writing prose fiction for children, right? And when we talk about writing for children, we can talk about nonfiction, we can talk about drama, we can talk about poetry, and so on and so forth. Okay. First of all, when we talk about writing for children, the most important thing is when we should identify our reader, which is the children themselves, right? And then writing for children has many elements. First of all, is the ambience or the background of the story. For example, uh, in the early years of focusing the theme of writing for children, we can say that the board books, waterproof back books, word games of many kinds are much work of designs of an authorship. That means these are the elements which inspired um, authors to write for children. And then I think artist and author is often the same persons. Perhaps they have their own children and they have their own children's development with them and they have experience in training the children. And the books which they use must be the book which has all of the senses. For example, the smell, the touch, and sound, as well as visual stimulant. Okay, so those are simple elements of writing children's book, right? And let us go to the some of the uh, structures, some of the important key features of writing children's book. Yeah. We have to write a very short and simple story about, let's say, animals. Why? Because children love animals, right? When we talk about fairy tales, when we talk about animals that can speak, animals that can communicate with other people, I believe, I guess, and you also believe that children will be very happy to listen to it and to read about it. Animal tags are very common for the very young, for the children. Story animals can be smarter and more adventurous than children themselves. So, if what if they are people in animal skins? Can you imagine that? Because children love them. Yes. So, if you get the stuck, or if you get the writer's block, or if you lost in translations, you just recount a day in the life of your chosen animals, your own pet perhaps, and you have to aim to write at least 500 to 1,000 words. For example, what is your favorite animal? Your favorite animal is, let's say, turtle, because turtle is very strong outside, and inside it has a very soft spot of heart, you can say like that. And when we talk about pets, we know their characteristic, right? Because you have nurtured them, you have known them for years, for example, you know their character. So it's easier for you to develop the ideas from your own pets to write a children book. For example, yes, I might not have pets, but I have cats in my garage. And it is more than one cat. So basically, it is a cat family. It consists of a father, a mother, two children, and their grandchildren. So they are breeding very fast. I might not like them that much. I just feed them, but somehow I've got this kind of connection that they can talk to me. They will tell me what they want, and they will say something if they want to say something. When we have eyes contact, I feel that I can communicate something to them. When I spoke to them, they could understand what I say. So it's something amazing actually, right? Now, let's try to cut your story into 12 or less equal parts. I mean, you might find it helpful to draw like 12 boxes and write your text into them, if you know what I mean. So if it is work, does it work? If you are used to writing only older stories or adult short stories, then the opportunities are not that close. There will be too much rational and not enough action, right? But some boxes will be bursting with text and others almost empty. What does it mean? If you get used to write, adult stories or teenager story or grown-up people stories, maybe you'll not be able to develop the fantasies that you have in mind. But when you try to imagine yourself being in the kid's imagination, then you will ask anything to speak to you. You will ask, grass, flowers, trees, any other creatures to talk to you, right? So you can repeat yourself. You can repeat to do that in order to put it into the writing, right? And then picture books also often use fairy tale trees. If you are familiar with, let's say, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, so those stories are stories for children, right? And then when we see the fairy tales, we are amazed by the fairy tales because they are very little, and then they can fly, they can sprinkle magic, and then they can make a wish come true, and that's really interesting. And then for example, a character looking for something may have to look in the cupboard and behind the sofa before finding it under the bed, and they would find something interesting each time. What I mean here is, let's say a fairy was trying to hide your favorite thing and trying to move little things that you have stored in your special place, but these little creatures bother you, right? So yeah, that kind of thing can make your elements in writing more spicy, more interesting, right? And also, I want to say that children who take to reading soon, they actually want something what we call as meatier than a picture book, but with some of the same visual appeal. What does it mean here is, first, storybooks are a hybrid form of text-heavy novel and the illustration-heavy picture book. So if you look at the toddler's book, which full of images, colorful colorful pictures, then the children book might not look like that. Instead, it will consist of some images, but not that vivid. Some images, but not that many. But we can still feel that this book is intended to the children, right? And then when we talk about children book, the text itself must contain rational and scene linking, which is like an animal, which is the minimal in picture books. For example, a scene is now a chapter in the style of a novel, right? So each chapter has its own structure and moves the story along, though it may be very short. So we have to consider that creating or writing children for book must be very challenging, because we have to pay attention to the number of the pages, but also we have to fulfill the children's imagination to make them keep reading the book, right? And then when we talk about the children book, I think one of the most important thing, or the most important accounts in children life is school, right? So maybe we can begin with the activities or the story about the school, right? Because school is one of the first big adventures for children. So it can be the theme for the children book. And also, the school is very useful for writers because parents are mostly not in the school. So what happens when parents are not around their children? The children will feel that, this is the freedom, I can do anything. And then you can say that the wildest imagination of children might come from school, because there is no supervision from the parents, even though the teachers are there. But when there are the absence of parents, the children feel that they can do anything. They can do the naughtiest things ever that you can see. They can do something like the parents have not ever been imagined before. Yes. And also, school, I think, can be a very scary place as well, because teachers have a parent role, but with a tough core of authority or superiority. The parents and the teachers share similarities. So I think teachers have parental role, but with a tough core of authority and superiority most parents lack. So other children may be friends, but their friendship may be having problems, or they may be rivals or bullies at schools. So it can be the theme, right? And of course, schools it keeps they keep the fact that schools are where important social activities for children happen, interactions, let's say, take place. And this is their hidden agenda, if you like. What is the hidden agenda? The hidden agenda, when we talk about schools and children, there are so many accounts, there are so many stories that might be hidden by the children when their parent asks what happened at school. So it can be a very explorative areas that you can explore for the theme, right? Now let's say think back to the earliest school days that you can remember. What happened when you were at schools? Okay, don't worry if there have been changes since then. You have to concentrate on the various emotions that you felt at that time, or imagine you felt what you felt when you met the first time a new student that came to your school, or children that bully you, or even the spooky things happen at school. It could be like that, right? Because children today might be not so very different. I mean, even though we can say it's millennial or Generation Z, but mostly the theme of schools uh, are very general. Now, please think of an event that breaks this routine and you have the basis for your story. For example, a visitor, a human, or otherwise, a new student, like I said before, a change of teacher, an accident at school. How do you and the class react at that time? How do you feel at that time? So that's quite something, right? Well, I think that's all for today about writing books for children. I hope you got the glimpse of information from this very short video about writing for children. We will continue this into the next video. Okay, I hope you enjoy this video and you can get something from this. Thank you, and I'll see you again. Bye bye, everyone.